Good afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing and another installment in the Council of One's Babylon 5 review series. And it is good to see so many familiar faces. It's good to have my fellow council members, Zodrider and Mountains of Elysium, with me today. And today we're going to flip the script just a little bit because here's the lowdown. Two of our council members are unfortunately sequestered at work. And with the episode that we were going to discuss today being as massive and as big an episode, which is, of course, the season 4 finale, which was originally supposed to be the series finale for Babylon 5, we would rather have the full council here so we can give you all the best possible stream and the best possible discussion that we can. So we're going to postpone, but we're not going to cancel. We're not going to cancel today's stream. We are going to still stream for you all, but we're going to postpone until next week so that hopefully we can have the full council here to do our full discussion and review of Deconstruction of Falling Stars. In light of that, we are actually, me and the fellows were talking before we went live, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. And we're actually going to do the Council of One's top 5. And this will be our top 5 favorite episodes from seasons 1 through 4 of Babylon 5. And I do want to say, for those of you that are tuning in and were expecting a discussion on the episode Deconstruction of Falling Stars, I do apologize if you feel like you've been cheated. But again, like I mentioned, we want to have the full council here, at least as many as we can have. Obviously, we can't have Classic Comics is still working on his education and so on, and we respect that and everything. But with Fiona and Lord Koj both at work today, we don't want them to be absent for such a massive episode. And we hope you enjoy the stream. As always, make sure you smash that like button and share this stream out with all your friends who are fans of classic sci-fi from the 1990s, and who might even be fans of Babylon 5 as well. So, but gentlemen, as always, good to see both of you, and appreciate y'all being here today. So, this is a change of pace for us. We don't normally do streams like this, but hope everybody enjoys it. And to the chat, Beer 31, Archer Colin, and Yvette Devil, lady and gentlemen, good to see you all as always. So, but that being said, gentlemen, I open the floor.
It's so tough to pick just 5 when you come to Babylon 5. There's just so many.
I know. I'm looking at it. I'm like looking at the list of all the episodes, and every time you go down the list, it's like, wow, these are so great.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You limit it to 5, you can pick the very, 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 very best. If you go 10 or more, you might throw some stuff in there that might eke out something else that was more deserving. So, and not to mention, this is called the Babylon 5 review, and, well, 5 is the number. So, anyways, gentlemen, I know this is going to be an interesting discussion, and I know it's going to be a somewhat difficult one because it is going to be very hard to try and just narrow down 5 episodes from seasons 1 through 4. And the one other thing I do want to mention, the reason we're only doing seasons 1 through 4 is because I have not had the opportunity to watch season 5 from start to finish, even though I have it on DVD. There are only so many hours in the day, and there's only so much time that I can dedicate to watching season 5. But I do guarantee y'all, when we do get to season 5, I will be watching all.
I'm actually more excited now than ever about being on this console and being a part of this show, knowing that you still have not seen all of season 5. I think that's great.
The other issue is I never even got a chance to watch Crusade all the way through. Granted, it was only one season, but like I mentioned to you all before we went live, we didn't have cable at the time, and it wasn't on syndication. It was on TNT specifically. So I was kind of like, well, crap, I don't get to watch this. And then I found out it was canceled after one season. I'm like, well, poop on a biscuit. So, anyway, why don't we just go around the horn and we'll start with Elysium if you want to go first, and then Zod, and then I'll go myself, and let's do this. Our top 5 episodes from seasons 1 through 4 of Babylon 5.
Okay, I kind of, as I said, like this is tough. And every time I think of an episode, I go, oh, but what about this one? But some that come to mind. And just before I begin, like, just say to the chat, guys, you're just as part of this as we are. Throw your suggestions in comments, because we love to react to it, and let us know what you think of our suggestions.
Yes.
One of my favorite would be Comes the Inquisitor, Passing Through Gethsemane, By Any Means Necessary, Late Delivery from Avalon, and The Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place. And depending on the day, that could change, but they are some of my favorites.
Oh, Elysium. Damn you. Well, let's see here. Well, Zod, actually, it would be your. Well, let's do a little discussion on Elysium's top 5, and then Zod will move on to you. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Passing through Gethsemane. Of course, you've got the one of the great character actors of our time, and that is, of course, Brad Dourif as Brother Theodore. I think Brother Theodore's the head of the order.
God, I can't think of his name on myself.
It's a Brother something. Oh,
Brother, isn't it Brother Malcolm?
Malcolm, yeah, Brother Malcolm. That's right. Yeah. And the amazing thing is, you would never expect an actor like Brad Dourif would ever go to a show like Babylon 5, and yet I guess he's just a lover of good science fiction. Considering maybe he was trying to balance things out, considering he did that massive stinker of Alien Resurrection. He's like, I want to go do some good sci-fi. So I'm gonna go talk to Straczynski and say, hey, you got a part for me? You got something I can play? He's like, yeah, how about we have you play a monk with a dark past? How about that? And he's like, okay, sounds good.
And nice contrast to his role as Wormtongue around about the same time, like the late 90s, early 2000s. Big contrast.
Yes.
But still similar. You could see elements of a Wormtongue redeemed. You could see what you were doing the Lord of the Rings review. Mm-hmm. You could see what you could hope in a redemption from Wormtongue in Brother Edward. That was his name.
Brother Edward, that's right. Yeah.
Malcolm was the other one, right?
I think so, yeah.
Malcolm is the monk in Deconstruction of Falling Stars.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why I'm thinking about that, because because we just rewatched that episode. Okay.
Yeah. Well, of course, you got the undertones of, can a person really escape their past, and the whole matter of religious conviction, and considering Brother Edward realizes who he really was, and he wants to repent. He wants to make things right, even if it costs him his own life, because that's the depth of his conviction. And I can say I can respect that type of conviction. And you see a similar thread in Comes the Inquisitor with Delenn and Sheridan when they're facing off against Mr. Sebastian, aka Jack the Ripper. And they pass the test, considering the fact that they are willing to die without renown, without acclaim, without fame, without anything, just simply because they know that they are doing the right thing. And Brother Edward makes a similar decision himself. And that's a truly, it speaks to the whole concept of self-sacrifice. And that has always been a constant thread and a constant theme throughout the Babylon 5 series. So, I think one of the other episodes that you mentioned, Elysium, was Late Delivery from Avalon.
Yes.
And, you've got a similar situation here. You've got a person who is running away from their past, or doesn't know their past, or rather is suppressing their past more so. And because he was the soldier that took the first shot that started the Earth Minbari War. And when you have that type of weight upon a person's conscience, it is a very difficult thing.
Yeah. And both men are good and trying to atone for the guilt that they don't remember. Like, I believe Brother Edward is atoning for somebody else because his personality was wiped. He's not the person who committed those crimes. But yet, he's willing to sacrifice himself to atone for the crimes of another, much as Jesus did. And I think that's coming from an atheist writing that absolutely beautiful Christian message. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, Zod, your thoughts?
I when I think about that episode in particular as a whole, it's very, very thought provoking, and there's a lot to contemplate in regards, to the actions, and the whole thing that sticks out to me with the episode was the idea of the controversy surrounding mind wipes. Like whenever I think about that episode, that's why it sticks out to my mind, because I've always thought that at some point human society is going to get to that fork in the road where they're going to actually have the ability to do those kinds of things. And that's why that controversy in that episode, stands out to me. So I can see why that episode made it into your top 5. It's a very, very, it's a lot to think about and a lot to unpack. That was actually a fun episode to talk about. I remember the discussion we did on that one.
Then again, I suppose with any of our top 5 choices, it'll change on the day because you'll remember another amazing episode.
Right. That's the problem with Babylon 5. It's just like, wow, I mean, so much to think about. Yeah.
It's like what By Any Means Necessary. Very often I don't think about that the minute someone mentions Babylon 5, but it encapsulates so much about it, the spirituality, like you can see Valen in Embryo with his seeing Sinclair's religious side, brilliantly dealing with Shakar, telling him, showing him a way around, using his own faith, using his own spirituality to resolve an issue that could have caused him serious political problems. Dealing with a workers' strike, actually looking out for the little guy, which is what Balin did, bringing the worker class into the council, into the Grey Council. And it's not something many would think about, but for me, it encapsulates so much about Babylon 5.
Well, and the other matter is, by any means, isn't that from season 1? Isn't that one of the episodes with Sinclair?
It is, yes. It's
Yeah,
near
that's
the end
right.
of it.
Where they're trying to quell the labor dispute. Is that the episode?
The Dockers union dispute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm a
remember
bit
that
of a
now.
lefty, so I'm a bit of a lefty, so it speaks to my political bent.
Yeah. Well, and the other issue is Sinclair had a very different way of handling different situations than Sheridan did. And I think for Sheridan, it would have been a little more difficult for him to try and resolve that situation, because if you consider his history, he was involved in the food riots on Mars. Now, I don't know the full context of that particular event within the B5 universe or timeline. What do either one of you have some background on that event in particular, or was it ever something that was necessarily spelled out?
I'm not sure. I think from reading back through the Babylon Wiki or the Lurker's Guide, there's some mention to it that he was involved in putting down the Mars riots. But we do see him dealing with a very similar situation, I think is in season 3 or 4, where he dealt with it completely different to Sinclair, where he was dealing with the traders. And he walked up and handed them a gun. He handed the other guy a gun, and he took the crowbar off that guy and said, "Okay, let's fight." And that quelled the situation. So very
Yeah.
different to Sinclair.
Yeah, and I think I know we haven't gotten to your Zod and everything. I don't want to go out of turn or anything here. I have to say one of my top 5, and yes, I do regard it as one whole episode, even though it's split into 2, and it's the only 2-part they ever do, is War Without End.
Oh yeah, that's in my top 5 as well.
And
I counted it as one.
It's the only time that we ever see Sinclair and Sheridan work together. And it's such a cool dynamic to see those two characters working side by side, because they are so different in how they're in their command styles. One is more diplomatic, but will throw down if he has to. The other one is the military man, but with a diplomatic edge. Whereas he always tries to come from a place of strength, whereas Sinclair tried to come from a place of understanding, but would use strength when all other options were exhausted. And I'm not saying either one is inherently bad or wrong or anything. They both have their merits. But when you look at the situation that they are in, you almost see a flipping of the script for Sinclair, because take him being in the role of Ranger 1 or Intel Za, he almost becomes the more militaristic leader, because that's what the Rangers need. That's what the Rangers are. They are a military force. Granted, they are a peacekeeping force first and foremost, but he needs to be, I think he had to kind of learn his way as he went along to be more of the militaristic mind, more so than the diplomat. And I think that's a really cool aspect of seeing Sinclair's character evolve and change. And that's true of a lot of the characters throughout this series. Granted, we hadn't seen Sinclair since the end of season 1. He just dips out and disappears. Now, we know why, because it was Michael O'Hare's psychological issues and so on. But to see him come back all of a sudden in the midst of season 3, and we get this great 2-parter that kind of wraps up his story arc, at least in terms of the television canon. But we do get a expansion in the novels and everything that were written. In the years in between the different seasons, and in the after the series itself was wrapped up. So, but any other comments on Elysium's picks for his top 5?
Great picks.
Yes. I just say one thing about the late delivery from Avalon. It contains some of my favorite lines in Babylon 5, which is why I put it in there. The line where he spoke to the old lady and said, "Dry your eyes. Eyes like as lovely as yours were never meant for tears." I think that's just a beautiful line. And then Jakar saying, "And they hit the ground with a satisfying thump."
That's I myself love that line. And they made a very satisfying thump. So, and Beer 31, thank you. Appreciate you. So, Mars got an embargo because they declared themselves neutral during the Earth-Minbari War. This caused food shortages and riots. Okay. Thank you, Beer 31. Appreciate that, filling in that information. I do appreciate it. Well, that kind of doesn't necessarily murky the waters of where Sinclair or Sheridan stood per se, but you do realize that it does kind of shed some light on where he was at that particular time in his career, and considering it causes us to rethink about the evolution of John Sheridan. So, because did he willingly or go along with the orders to put down the riots, or was he somewhat hesitant about those issues? That's the real question. So, and Archer Collin brings up, I think, another great quote, and yeah, it is very true. Where I come from, his story carries great power. Marcus Cole. Yeah. Because Marcus is Briton. Granted, born off Earth, obviously. But still, he was a Brit. Or he was British, excuse me. Don't want to be potentially offensive to anyone. But, Zod.
Potentially offensive. I love that. That should be like a hashtag. Potentially offensive.
Warning: this stream contains content that might be potentially offensive to certain viewers. Viewer discretion is not. Viewer discretion is not advised. If you get offended, I don't care.
That's your problem. That sounds like a personal problem.
That almost guarantees I'll click on
it. Yeah.
Well, Azad, your top 5, my friend.
My top 5. Okay, I counted my number 5. I counted War Without End parts 1 and 2 as one. That's definitely a monumental episode. That's number 5 for me. Number 4, I was torn between In the Shadow of Zahadum and Walkabout, but ultimately number 4 for me was Walkabout, because I just love the journey that Franklin goes on, and that episode is so powerful. And so, I mean, as an actor, my God, the late great Stephen Biggs, oh my God, that episode is just fantastic. So Walkabout's number 4. Number 3 for me is an episode that we recently talked about here on the console, The Face of the Enemy.
Very good.
I love that episode. There's so much iconic, visual. There's so many iconic visuals in that movie. A lot of in that episode. It feels like a movie. A lot of religious overtones. A lot of things that just really stand out and are so powerful and iconic from the Babylon 5 franchise. Just a knockdown, drag out, emotional powerhouse of an episode. Number 2 for me is the episode Zahadum. And of course, that episode, we know why that episode is so pivotal and so powerful in Babylon 5 history. And my number 1 favorite episode of Babylon 5 of, the first 4 seasons. And I even have to say, I could even slightly edge this out slightly over the finale of Babylon 5, the Deconstruction of Falling Stars, which is the episode we were supposed to talk about today. I must have seen this episode I literally over 100 times. I love this episode so much. It sticks out in my mind as like a total encapsulation of the series as a whole. Like you could literally have never watched an episode of Babylon 5 in your entire life and sit down and watch that episode and at least get a feel for what Babylon 5 is and get a feel for who these characters were and what they represented to the universe. And it's just so great. And it's an episode I cannot wait for us to talk about. I feel like Ambassador, since we postponed it, it should be one of those episodes where we do it like it's like a special event kind of a thing where we literally talk about it, maybe even go more in depth on it than like we normally do on the show, because it's such a great episode. And like you pointed out earlier, it was initially supposed to be the finale of the series. So we knew, it had to be good. It had to be good. And it delivers on all of the beats of Babylon 5. It's all there, and it's wonderful. Yes. So that's my top 5. And it's a very hard top 5 because like Mountains of Elysium, I could easily flip it on another 5 episodes if I really thought about it. But that was just like off the cuff, off the top of my head, the 5 episodes that stood out to me at the moment.
Yeah. And I cannot say I disagree with that list at all. I mean, you pick some really great ones, honestly. I guess we can go ahead and do my top 5, and then we can just kind of do a roundabout. We can do a discussion on all of them and everything, honestly. Okay, my top 5 from seasons 1 through 4. Number 5 would have to be Grail, because I love that is by far one of my all-time favorite episodes. It has one of my all-time favorite character actors. Of course, that is David Warner. Yes. Number 4, if it's the right episode, I think it is, Whatever Happened to Mr. Garibaldi, because that involves the episode with Sheridan and Lorien. Number 3 would have to be Comes the Inquisitor. Number 2 is War Without End, parts 1 and 2. And this might be a bit on the nose, but when aren't most things? It's from season 1. I'm trying to remember the name of I'm trying to remember the title of the episode, but it's the episode where Sinclair's lady, Catherine Sakai, goes to Sigma 957. I love that episode because it is such a massive world building episode. Not to mention, it gives a great reveal into who Jakar truly is. And it has one of the greatest quotes, I think, from the entire series. When Jakar says to Sakai, "Nobody here is exactly what he or she appears to be." And that, I think, is not so much Jakar saying that to Sakai. I think that is Straczynski speaking to the audience, saying, don't trust what you see in terms of these characters because they are not inherently the sum of what you see on the screen. There is more to them. And there's obviously more to this world as well. And that's often true of people in general. We are never truly, I mean, it's not that we're being necessarily duplicitous or anything, but there is far more to us as individuals than any one person might suspect. The reason I picked Grail is because it very much delves into Minbari, some of the Minbari belief structure and how they revere people who seek truth. And not to mention, it touches upon a great piece of, if you wish to regard as such, Earth mythology, but it also touches upon a particular piece of church lore. I'll categorize it as that, and as, of course, the Holy Grail, the Cup of Christ, which did exist. And no, and I say this, it is not a woman's womb, contrary to what a certain author by the name of Dan Brown would want to make you believe. So, and I kind of mentioned my why I love War Without End. I mean, it's another great world building episode, but it also showcases the relationship between Sinclair and Sheridan, and it was also the inspiration for the name for this live stream, because up until that episode, this was simply known as the Babylon 5 review. But the whole concept of the one who was, the one who is, and the one who will be, it was the inspiration for me to rebrand and rename this stream that we've been doing for almost 2 years now, or over 2 years now.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I wanted something that was iconic. I wanted something that struck a chord with, okay, BR31, thank you. Mind War. Thank you. I appreciate that, truly. So, oh, that's right. That's the one with the episode with Jason Ironheart, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, that's the one. I think.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes.
yeah. That was another. Yeah, that was another great aspect of, because it also introduced us to the Cyclops and a certain little psychic toady known as Alfred Bester. Mm.
Oh,
Man, I love to hate that
Toady.
guy.
Such a great character.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Alfred Bester, Walter Koenig as Bester is a great character. So, yeah, and Colin, you're welcome. Yeah, I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to give these reviews a certain level of professionalism, but I also wanted to give them something fun. I wanted it to be something that stood out. And I would believe that if Sinclair hadn't had to go back in time, they would have had some sort of council that him and Delenn and Sheridan would have been a part of. And of course, potentially, we don't know this definitively, but even Ivanova, I think I'm gonna have to eventually start looking into some stuff on the Babylon 5 wiki, the Lurker's Guide, because I want to know if she took up the mantle of Intelza of Ranger 1 after Sinclair.
That Lurker's Guide is the best resource ever. I mean, you talk about being able to be comprehensive and delving deep into the lore, look no further.
Yeah. Because I really want to know, did she take up the mantle of leadership? Was she Ranger? Did she become Ranger 1 after Sheridan died? That for me is because she's remembered as Ivanova the Strong. I want to know why she was remembered as that, and we'll discuss that more thoroughly next week. But I really want to know why she was remembered as Ivanova the Strong. Was it because she was such a strong leader for the Rangers, and she did some really great things in her time and her role as Intel Zon? That for me is one of the truly fascinating things, and that's not the comment I wanted. I wanted this one.
I just popped a link to just before you talk with cons. I popped a link to the Babylon 5 wiki that has backgrounds on all of the characters and many of the characters just in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Elysium. I really appreciate that. The story of the Grail is almost as complicated as King Arthur. I may feel another stream idea coming on. I think that is answered in Sleeping in Light. Well, you see her put on the robes of a ranger, and particularly, I think it's the robes of a ranger in the ranger's leader, because they are very reminiscent of what both Sinclair and Sheridan both wore. So that is potentially the case that she decided to take on the role of being the leader of the Rangers because she wanted to do something that mattered. And as I've mentioned before, I think she did it also out of a sense of loyalty or even a sense of love for Marcus. She wanted to be a part of something that was connected to the man who loved her and who she, in her own way, loved as well. And I think that's a great thing about Ivanova is, I know I've said this, I know I did my video on her a couple of years ago, but in so many ways, minus the fact that the character was Russian, in so many ways she reminds me of my mother and my grandmother. My mother is still alive. My grandmother has died in the mid-90s. But so many of the personality tics, so much of her own personality is wrapped up in who she is and what she does. And my grandmother and my mom were and are very much like that. They respect loyalty, they respect authenticity, they respect strength, and they respect being genuine, being real, being yourself, not being fake or phony. And those are the qualities that Ivanova herself deeply respected. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Shane. I appreciate that. And Shane, it's good to see you. Appreciate you popping in. Shane, just to give you and whoever else might be watching right now, we made a judgment call and everything at kind of the 11th hour. we were going to do our review of Deconstruction of Falling Stars, but since both Fiona Wolf and Lord Koj are stuck at work today, we decided to postpone until next week, when hopefully their schedules will be a little more free, and we'll be able to do a proper review for Deconstruction of Falling Stars. So we're going to do that next week. So for anybody that's popping in and you're like, why aren't they talking about Deconstruction? That is why. So what'd you put in here? Oh, wow, Elysium, thank you. Okay, Elysium pulled this up for me, or for us, and I'll go ahead and read this here. Susan spends the rest of her life serving as Ranger 1, never marrying, choosing instead to dedicate her life to her work of expanding the roster of membership in the Endless Shock to include representatives of every member world, and instituting a system of honor and self-sacrifice that is unparalleled for centuries to come. And then, okay, what have you got here for me, Elysium?
That's just a link to the Susan Ivanova's Babylon 5 wiki page, and I popped it in the live chat as well. It's a novel.
Wow. $22.81.
And many of the characters become parted rangers, like Lou Welsh. He disappears out of Babylon 5, I think in season 2 or 3, supposedly becomes a member of the Anna Shock, as does Zach, as does many of the main characters, I believe.
Oh, okay, here we go. The distant future. Susan's life and legacy lives on in one form or another. Almost 1,000 years after her death, she is remembered in the scriptures of post-Great Burn Earth, which had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy as Avalon the Strong. Though at the time, some question is if such a mythical figure even existed. Beyond even then, Susan, along with the likes of Sheridan and Delenn, are not forgotten. Even 1 million years into the future, as Earth is consumed in soul's fire and the last of humanity's children leave the cradle for the last time, bound for their new home, the Endless Shock still remember those who are responsible for the dawn of the Third Age. So she was Ranger 1. She was the one who would be. Just like her mentor.
Yes.
Just like Sheridan. And now I have a brand new found respect that I didn't before for Susan Ivanova.
Well, you always had great respect for Susan Ivanova, so for you to just be finding this out now, this is fantastic. Wow.
Well, I love the characters of this series. I think it goes without saying. I mean, I did videos. I really need to make the time, because I want to do a remastered version of my video on Ambassador Kosh, because it was one of the very first videos I ever did for my channel. And it was not the best. I didn't have a proper mic. I didn't have it properly lit. And I need to do a proper character video on Ambassador Kosh. And I need to do one for the Shadows, because that was one that I never ever did. So maybe one of these days, maybe if I ever hit like 500 or 600 subscribers, I'll do that profile on the Shadows and Mr. Morden, because that's one character or characters I never covered in my my character profiles. I did the main characters, but I didn't really do any of the side characters. I did a live stream because I couldn't figure out any other way or figure out the time to do it on Lanier and Veer and Marcus Cole, because they were 3 characters that I felt deserved their own video, just like everybody else. But I just never got the opportunity to delve into. And yeah, I what can I say? I love Russians. I love a Russian. Granted, I love my wife. I love her to death. But the character of Susan Ivanova, she is my sci-fi crush. There, I said it. It's not Princess Leia. It's not the bald-headed. It's not Kirstie Alley or Savick from Star Trek. It's Susan Ivanova.
Yes. She was a close second to Lita for me.
Yeah,
For my sci-fi crush.
Yeah, and I can't blame you on that one. Well, you know, characters like Ivanova, they're dynamic and they're captivating. And I don't necessarily mean that in the physical sense. They captivate you with their intellect or their actions or their personality. I mean, don't get me wrong. Susan Ivanova, we're all guys here, we're all adults. She's a babe. And to see her journey through seasons 1 through 4, and then to see her finally come back at the end of season 5 for the real series finale, and to see everything that she has gone through, every struggle that she had to face, and everything else across the board, and to see her put aside her Earth Force uniform, and now that I know, or we know, that she was Ranger 1, it's an awesome thing. It truly is. It is an awesome thing to know. Yes, Shane, but she could have boffed Marcus. Oh, Lordy. Out of all the tears and the weeping and the crying and everything else that she goes through in that scene, she's like, I could have boffed him at least once. And Franklin looks at her and says, did you just say boff? She's like, yeah. Sounded like something he would have said. And I can only I can only imagine the exclamations of pleasure that might have come out of his mouth if they had ever boffed.
The Babylon 5 choke stream. Oh, oops, you're choking to death.
Jeez, son, can you make it any more awkward?
The choke stream. Oh, wow. That'd be great. Well, we're talking about boffing, so I figured we could add choking to the list. It's, you know,
maybe
some people are into that. Maybe Ivanova is too.
Sod, dude, we don't speak of intels all that way.
I was saying something to Archer Collin. I do believe there's a way to download wikis. I'm not sure how, but someone told me that there is a way to download the entire wiki as a file. Not sure how it's done, but it would be good.
Don't ask me. I have the foggiest. I've never really interacted with a wiki before. That's what she said. Oh, good Lord. Fiona, Koj, see what happens when y'all are not here? Oh, wait a minute. It's almost as bad when you are here. What am I saying?
It's almost
because we have gotten into some real oh boy, we have gotten some real sticky wickets.
Yes, that's we need our Ivanova back.
Huh?
We need our Ivanova back, so we need Fiona here to keep us in line.
And MB Geek, good to see you, man. Appreciate it. And Bureau 31. In short, fan service and nostalgia. Well, depending on your perspective, Geek, that can be a good thing.
Sure can.
And let's see. Bureau 31. My top 5: Passing Through Gethsemane, The Long Twilight Struggle, War Without End, Zaha Doom, and Severed Dreams. Honorable mention: No Surrender, No Retreat. Bureau 31. That's a good one.
Yeah,
That is a
really
good, solid list. So,
just to say to NBs, just then we're talking about our favorite episodes of Babylon 5. So if you want to stick some of your suggestions in the chat, please do.
Yeah, for those of you that are tuning in late, both Fiona Wolf and Lord Koj are both stuck at work today. We didn't want to do our discussion of this episode, Deconstruction of Falling Stars, without them. So we came up with this idea of doing our top 5 favorite episodes from seasons 1 through 4. Why 1 through 4? Because I said so. It's my stream.
And we haven't started talking about season 5 yet. So
yeah, we haven't started talking about season 5 yet. So, and considering I've never gotten a chance to watch it all the way through either. So, but that will change. So, anyhow. Oh, Lord of mercy. Well, guys, she is on War Without End. Let's see. I know someone watching for the first time. She is in Shane. I have absolutely no idea, have no context for what you're trying to say.
Oh, no, he's saying that someone he knows is watching Babylon 5 for the first time, and she's just up to War Without End.
Oh, okay, okay. Gotcha. Okay, I get what you're saying now, Shane. Okay, sorry. I've been up since 3:30 a.m. So,
oh god.
Anyhow, so the brain's not firing on all cylinders. I've got like 6 out of 8 cylinders going. So, please forgive me. Anyhow, well, guys, I think we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna wrap up for this afternoon. So I'm gonna let y'all have your final thoughts, and then we'll call it a day. So, floor is yours, guys.
Well, final thoughts for me is I'm glad that we did this and kind of gave a brief overview of 5 of the best episodes that we all enjoyed, because it felt appropriate considering that we didn't have the full console. So I'm very happy that we did this and decided to wait for our fellow console members to be back to talk about such a monumental episode in Babylon 5 history, because honestly, again, my favorite episode, Deconstruction of Falling Stars, it's an episode where you should have as many console members as possible, because there's just so much to unpack, so much to talk about, and I thought that this was a very nice compromise, not in a compromising in a positive way, not in a negative way, to make it possible for everybody to hopefully get together for the next one. So yeah, this was great. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, because for me, I think I watched. There's a great commentary track on Deconstruction of Falling Stars. And this time through, there's something, there was a throwaway line I noticed for the first time that adds just monumental depths to the whole universe of Avalon 5. And it's just one line dropped in that you go, oh, wow, that changes the whole context of things.
Mm-hmm.
We'll mention that next week. So all you guys in the chat, you have to, or next time we're on, you'll have to tune in for that.
Yes.
This, like Saad was saying, for me, Babylon 5, there's just so much even to choose from. Even the episodes many people will throw away. Some will say Grey 17 is Missing is one of the worst, but yet one half of that is an absolutely brilliant episode. And the other half, the bit with Garibaldi wandering around down below in the Babylon 5 triangle, the hidden parts of the station. Mm-hmm. If you look at it in a certain light, that is still a really, really good episode. And
yes, it is.
That is the worst of when the worst of Avalon 5 is one of the best of any other franchise, you're on to a winner.
Yes. So, and yes, Geek, We know that. That is a given. But I think you left out one very important word. Susan Ivanova is a goddess. She is not God, but I think you're also doing the quote from season 1.
And
I will listen. I want you to memorize the Babylon 5 mantra. I will listen to Ivanova. I will pay attention to Ivanova. Ivanova is God. And Ivanova will rip your lungs out the next time you do not listen to her. By the way, just kidding. No offense.
Excellent quote. And you can see Susan Ivanova as God in Blood of Zeus on Netflix.
Oh, really? Oh, she
plays a Greek god in it's an animated series, actually a very, very good animated series on Netflix, Blood of Zeus.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, she's doing some voice acting then. She's doing some voice work.
Does a really good job.
Right, does. Well, I don't know if y'all know this, and a little minor thing before we do call it a day. The actress Claudia Christian, she did like 2 or 3 different voice roles for one of the greatest RPG video games of all time. Can anybody tell me what game that is? You get a gold star and a cookie. Anybody?
Not a clue.
Zod, you want to take a guess at least?
I didn't even hear what you said, Ambassador. I got preoccupied and didn't hear you. So could you say that again, please?
Yes. Claudia Christian did like 2 or 3 different voice parts for one of the greatest RPG video games of all time. Can you name that video game?
No, I cannot, actually.
You uncultured swine. Elder Scrolls 5. Skyrim.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of RPGs, so I wouldn't know. Now, if you were to ask me about fighting games or beat 'em ups or games like God of War, I could probably have answered correctly, but I'm not really an RPG guy. So
I know Claudia Black was in Dragon Age. No, Colin, I already said the answer. You probably already heard it. I know there's the delay between YouTube and StreamYard. Claudia Christian did the voice of like 2 or 3 different characters for Skyrim. She was Aela, the archer from the Companions. She was Liget Rika for the Imperial Army out of Cyrodiil. And she was well, she was the female blacksmith in Whiterun. I can't remember the name of the character off the top of my head. Anyway. Yes, and Claudia Black, yeah, she's not a bad looking lady either. So anyway. Well, folks, we are going to call it an afternoon or an evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. I do want to thank you all for tuning in today. Once again, if you come across this, I will change the title and I will change the description after we wrap up and everything, so that no one gets their wires crossed. But we will be back next week with our review and our discussion of the season 4 finale / series finale for Babylon 5, the Deconstruction of Falling Stars. I do want to let you all know I will be going live several times this weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, or not tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night. Well, actually, tomorrow afternoon after I get off work, I'm actually going to go see Spider-Man No Way Home. And then tomorrow evening, to kind of continue the holiday festivities here on the Ambassadorial Wing, we'll be doing a special watch-along for one of my all-time favorites. And yes, I know there's a lot of those, but I like Christmas movies. And we'll be doing a watch-along for Dr. Seuss's, the live-action version of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And then Sunday, I'll be doing a double header. with a Afternoons with the Ambassador stream. We'll be concluding my review series of The Lord of the Rings with, of course, The Return of the King. And then tomorrow on Sunday evening, I'll be doing a ambassadorial R&D reaction and discussion to the latest episode of Hawkeye. And holy freaking cow, what an episode we had this week. And of course, I'll bring y'all my spoiler-filled thoughts for Spider-Man No Way Home. So
I think you're going to have some difficulty with your upcoming schedule, because I have a feeling that after you see this new Spider-Man film, you're going to have a difficult time thinking about these other movies. I think you're going to be in a situation where you're going to want to talk about Spider-Man a lot more than you think right now, Ambassador. So good luck with this. I mean, because all the stuff that you're talking about, that you're mentioning, that's an awful lot of content to cram into a time period when you're about to go see a phenomenal film. So I'm just wishing you luck. Good luck with this.
Well, here's the thing.
Because you said Return of the King, and I'm like, wow, all this weighty stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be something.
Well, man. Here's the thing, Zod, and I'm not saying this to be rude or condescending, far from it. But if I can get through seminary classes and do 2 or 3 classes a day on top of everything else I did while I was in seminary and in college in general, I think I can handle a few movies. If I can handle theology and philosophy and the
Deconstruction of Falling Stars.
No, not Deconstruction, but the sifting through lines of scripture to prepare sermons. I think I can handle a couple of movie reviews. This brain hasn't failed me as of yet. Well, Shane, I'm talking about them separately, not intricately intertwined, although they do oftentimes get intertwined if you aren't careful. So, and do want to send a quick shout to the chat before we do close out. The lovely Sherry, my dear, it is good to see you. And, well, hope you enjoyed the replay of the stream. So, but anyways, folks, you all have a great weekend. Have a very Merry Christmas, a very happy holiday season, whatever way you prefer to qualify it as. We will see you all next week. I will see you all later this weekend. And until next time, well, let's get this right, guys, because we got it last week and we did a really good job. So let's see if we can do 2 for 2. This is the Council of One saying 3, 2, 1. Zooty, zoot, zoot. Good night, everybody.